Welcome to Jump Shots from the Goal Line. I am Jonathan Dugan, your host. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. John Henningsen and Ben Crownover. We did not have a show last week, as you guys saw. Again, we recorded it, but the software that we used decided that it wasn't a good enough episode, and it didn't get pushed out. So you weren't going crazy. Your Spotify or your Apple was working. It's just we weren't. So sorry about that, guys. We'll try to be better, try to find some better technology that'll work for everybody. Other than that, holy shit. The Phoenix Suns just pulled off a incredible win. Ben has so much to say on it, I know.
Yeah, dude, it's like the championship parade tomorrow. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it might be, bro. I know. Ben's a huge basketball guy, so we'll try to contain him on this conversation. But as everybody knows, Henny and I are both humongous Suns fans, and tonight's game against the Mavericks was looking a lot like how the playoffs ended. But Henny, what about that game, bro?
I just hate Lucas so much. That's like really, I just like, it's just literally like whatever, 3 hours of me just being like, not to this guy. And I don't even care. Like, I don't care if we like, I mean, I do care, but like if we lost the next 10 games, like whatever, there's not a lot of what I saw tonight that I'm like super stoked about from a Suns perspective. Like not a lot of sustainable lineups that I'm like, oh yeah, this would be great over 82 game stretch. But I did see some nice tea leaves in the fact that the Suns are going to have to do something probably. KD looked miserable on that Nets bench. I know other teams are going to want to tank for Wembanyama, so suck it, Luka, and let's just, I'm just really optimistic about what may be.
Yeah, dude. This is literally a podcast that had an entire episode titled "The Luka Hate Party," so nobody should be surprised that that's what we lead off with, right? The Mavericks did go up by 22 at one point, which was so familiar. I thought we were en route to another blowout by the Mavs after going like, mopping the floor with them for like 4 years. But the Suns pulled it out, right? They finally kind of locked in the second half, started playing a little bit more of how we're used to seeing them play. And one of the offseason additions, Damian Lee, had himself a great debut game. Hit the game winner, hit a lot of key threes there in the fourth. I think the story probably is Chris Paul, right? He's either hurt, which drink if you've never heard that before. Same thing with Cam Johnson, or maybe he's cooked. I guess we'll never know until this press conference. God, what a dumb thing I just said. We will know. But man, he did not look good, right, Henny?
Yeah, but I'll just defend you in the fact of like, this is what the limbo is for the Suns, and it has been since Chris Paul's gotten here, right? Like, it's always like all of a sudden he's not in a game and we're like, so he's like hurt, he's tired, he's hurt and tired. Is he
you
just
don't know what to think?
So you don't really know. So I know what you're saying.
He's probably filming a State Farm commercial, dude.
Maybe. Could be.
He's got to play two roles. It's taxing and time consuming for sure.
Yep. No, but, what did he go? I think 1 for 6, played 30 minutes, was just never a threat on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. I love Chris Paul, but anybody that watched the playoffs last year could tell you that he's regressed quite a bit on that end of the floor. He's not a weapon. He's not a threat when it comes to making shots. He can distribute with the best of them, can lead a team really well. But this team, especially without Jay Crowder, especially missing a few guys from the bench that we've had the last couple of years, they need somebody that can score, right? And if there's anything about Cam Payne that we know, he might not score a lot of points, but he's damn sure going to try. And I think that opened things up a little bit more for the Suns in that second half. And then just obviously the rest of the squad stepping up. I do worry about Cam Johnson. I hope he's okay. He did limp off the court there for a while, and he was cooking tonight, right, John?
Yeah, it seemed like it might just be cramps. So hopefully it's like for the best. But that's one of those reasons where, whatever you think about the Cam Johnson situation in terms of a contract, there's definitely an argument to be made that you just like pay him as he's an asset, and like he's definitely a tradable piece as a 3-and-D wing. With maybe a little more of a question mark on the D. I think he's solid out there, but
Right.
But he's certainly a really good shooter, and he's like of good size. He can play kind of that 3-4 swing role. But the question with him is like the injury thing. So, of course, game one, like that question's already back, and you're like, cool. So, that was a little scary. I think you're gonna. I mean, if you're a Suns fan, get ready for like I would presume the ball's going to be in Booker's hands a lot, and so that's what that's going to be. I mean, it's going to be a lot of Booker, and we better be able to lean on Ayton. Otherwise, it'll just be a long, tough season. There's plenty of bad teams out there, but it's also a very loaded West.
Yeah, I think what it's going to come down to, right? Like they have to trade Jay Crowder one way or another. He's not going to play for the Suns any further. So we'll see what they get on the trade on that end. But, talking to a few of our other friends, like Adam and, his brothers, I know you've played ball with them. They're convinced that a trade's got to happen, right? We definitely need that other piece, somebody that can score. I know you don't love Jordan Clarkson, Henny, but he might be a decent option. Hey, I mean, the guy can get a bucket, right?
I guess so. I think we do that with Campaign too. He also could once get a bucket. The guy doesn't play defense. I want nothing to do with Jordan Clarkson poison.
But you mentioned it earlier, right? KD looked miserable. I think we've all speculated that he could definitely be available at the trade deadline if Ben Simmons continues to just suck, which he will.
The shot
could be an option.
The shot of KD looking like he wants to unalive himself next to Ben Simmons is classic.
Yeah, it looked very Embiid-esque, That's what I got from it.
So Ben Simmons just knows how to make people smile.
Yeah, he sure does. He's a cheerful guy. So, but no, you know what? Opening night, I think it's going to be a fun NBA season. If that game was anything reflective of what we're going to have going forward, give me any kind of 22-point comeback. I love seeing it. We're not going to go through the rest of the NBA games. It's game one, right? Like we really only go through individual games during the playoffs. But usual suspects are winning games. The league looks like it's going to be fun this year. And I know we need to stop talking basketball because we have our good friend Benjamin Crown over on here, and he can't contain himself. And I want to move on to a different topic so that he has some level of relief. Ben, how was your gambling slate last week? But I think you put something out on Twitter about a retirement. Is that what we saw?
Yeah. I had a notes at my NFL retirement. I don't know. I'm just
very pro player of you, by the way. I like the move.
Hashtag respect my decision. You guys get to talk all these positive things, and I was like, you know what? Like maybe I can finally plug the NHL season starting a little bit more than last week. But no, I mean we can talk about my gambling losses if that's your preference.
I'll tell you what, Ben. I will give you 5 minutes to talk hockey. Ready, set, go.
The over tonight hit in the second period, basically, of the Colorado Avalanche. Granted, it didn't really hit until the third and technically overtime, but it was a 3-3 game. Get with Mr. Ice. He is unbelievable. Guy won me 2 World War II rifles last year with how hot this guy is. All he does is pick one single over every single night. Follow him on Twitter. He is electric. And every time it happens, he rips his shirt off and runs around screaming. Like I think he got sponsored by Hanes last year. It's an electric factory. The Penguins are 2-0-1, and they look like a wagon. They demolished the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'm really excited. Maybe I do have one more year before this window officially slams on my fingers and I'm miserable. So hockey's back. It's the best sport you could possibly watch, and thank you. I didn't even need 5 minutes.
I heard the Yotes were
wagons.
We're gonna be this year's sweetheart.
Yeah, the
absolute powerhouse.
That's okay, dude. Fun little over for the Penguins fans.
Yeah, Coyotes absolutely. Betting against the Coyotes last year actually is probably, what funded all my football bets. So it was like, hey, thanks for keeping me alive. And these other ones, like and I think they're going to probably deliver that again for a while. Although they did get the old 2.5 on the puck line the other night, and then we're real feisty. So
that is
bulletin board material, Coyotes on alert.
That is the biggest sign of disrespect is you get the 2.5 goal puck line. So. Yeah. By the way, though,
did Jacob Chychrun get traded yet, Ben?
Oh God, it just started, man. Give me a second to get settled. I don't believe so. Dude, honestly, like one thing I will tell you, like if you want to make good money betting NHL, I wouldn't bet puck lines. I would probably bet money line dogs, and I'd bet over unders because it's one consistent thing that you can kind of predict. You can't tell which team's going to win, but like overs goes to overtime. It's amazing. Like it's perfect. So just something to keep in mind, like because the Canadians, for example, against the Penguins, ended up winning in overtime, and they were a plus 200 money line dog. It was the third game of the year, and it's like you could already have recouped all your units if you were doing other things. So bet a few of those money line dogs in NHL, like they'll pay off. Don't bet like garbage teams, but bet decent teams.
All right. I think that's been about 5 minutes, don't you think, Henny?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Than,
But I'm
better
a
than
big
talk, better than NBA talk. I mean, Jesus
I
Christ!
no,
Listen,
it's,
I didn't
it's
realize
not.
the
It's not.
Suns
But
were-
it's definitely not. I mean, it's like the numbers don't bear out on that. But I will say I do like your Mr. Ice reference because I do. I mean, just like the fact that a guy got a T-shirt sponsorship for not wearing a shirt.
Sponsor shirt.
That's a good sponsorship. It is a sponsor shirt.
Yeah.
An intentional play on words. But yeah, I like that. I like that. Good share.
No, honestly, Ben, that was way better than what I was anticipating. And I almost pulled the same joke that I pulled on you like 2 episodes ago.
I would have been
So
mad.
consider yourself lucky.
I was worried it was a setup. I almost like pulled the ring. I was like, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, hockey handicappers are incredible, and like you can make like I know for me, like I can't win baseball. NFL has killed me the entire year, hence the Notes app retirement. There are certain things I am not good at gambling on. Hockey is one of those ones. Like if you know the teams and you know what's happening, and you get a decent, handicapper you're following, like tail them. Like there's tons of good ones. Like Turks is another good one. There's Merles, there's RA, there's a lot of the Barstool guys. Barstool does a phenomenal job with hockey
Spitting
content.
chicklets.
Yeah, I mean, like, granted, like, Whitney and Biz are kind of dumb when it comes to gambling, but like a lot of those guys are really, really good as handicappers. Like, tail them. You're probably
Does Hammer
gonna.
Down do any hockey stuff?
Yeah, I think they do a little bit. I mean, honestly, like there's so much. I mean, most of the time nobody pays attention to hockey this early. Like that's why I was shocked that the Suns won the NBA championship on the first game tonight. But
Yeah.
like
Oh, by the way, if you live bet that game, good job.
yeah,
That would have been the bet slips there would have been pretty good.
There's I'll end it and say follow Mr. Ice. It is awesome. The guy I think last year had a 17 game in a row streak. And it's just free money sometimes. Like he gets hotter than anybody else when he's doing it. Like tail him. It's one over every night. And he'll pick it and he usually drops it around dropped it today at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and it's like you got 30 minutes before the game starts, fire on it and just watch yourself win money. He's great.
And the added value of exploring deep into your cable network, right? Trying to find hockey. I mean, right? You're thinking you're wasting those channels, throwing them away. But you start watching HGTV to get your hockey fix or wherever the hell it is. Good. That's good. That's good value.
What is it on, Ben? NBC Sports or what is it?
No. So I do have one gripe. When ESPN bought the broadcast rights to the NHL, I was so excited because NBC Sports
you still can't find it.
You still can't find it, dude. It's like, and it's actually,
impossible.
It's worse than it was before, which is insane. You used to actually be able to like watch your teams. Like if they were a good game, you knew you had your Wednesday night hockey, but it is so hard to find games. I just pay for like the center ice package because that's the only way I'm going to be able to watch.
Nice. I just use Drogon.tv. Shout out to Drogon. So yeah, I might be, 15 to 20 seconds behind pace, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. So perfect, man. Well, we let's talk about last week's games real quick, college football, just a little bit because the people didn't get to hear your analysis last week.
Well, it was
another 100% week.
Yeah, 100% week. I actually I did have a decent week if you took out the Penn State-Michigan game. I had 3 of my 8 straight bets were on that one game, and I lost all 3 of them. I lost my depraved pick of the week, but you guys know what
that was tough too.
Yeah, so I have I don't know. I mean, like I think the biggest news obviously is you got USC going down to Utah, but they covered.
Which, by the way, real quick, John called that.
That's fine. They covered.
Yeah, no, it's right. I like that. I like that game a lot because I was like, me and Ben both win. This is like this is perfect. He keeps his money, and I'm just in purely talking college football. It's really hard to go win in Utah, and that's why I was scared of the game. But I was really happy the way it worked out because I like when everybody can win.
Mm-hmm. Except me.
Well, yeah, I mean that's okay. The Tennessee Alabama game was unbelievable. I love
Electric.
watching Alabama lose, and like Tennessee just if there was one place I could have been that night, it would have been I would have been down there just walking around throwing goalposts into rivers and cutting them up and just like having a party, smoking cigars. Like their offense, Tennessee's offense is unbelievable. Like here's my nightmare scenario though. I don't know if this is actually possible, but what if Tennessee, Bama, and Georgia all get into the playoffs as a one loss team?
I just don't think they'll
that's
do
very
it.
possible. They said it was possible.
I know, but they want to say that. I mean, what you're gonna. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see how you get 3 1-loss SEC teams in when you're going to have like a 1-loss Big Ten team. You may end up with a 1-loss Pac-12 team. You're probably going to. I mean, I know they like to talk about it as the nightmare scenario, but I mean, I don't see it. Clemson's hanging around. I mean, I just don't see how that works out.
Really, the only 1-loss Pac-12 team I can think of would be Oregon, right?
Yep, and they got a big one.
Then Big Ten, you got to think it's
Ohio
Ohio State. Yeah, one of the two. And then Big 12, it's nobody. Like they're already
cannibalized.
Smoked. Yeah, exactly. So ACC could be Clemson potentially. And then the SEC has the 3 big dogs, but hey, Ole Miss has only lost 1 game too. We were kind of wrong on them as well.
Yeah, I don't know. My nightmare scenario is that it's just like all SEC, and it's like there's other good fucking teams in the country, you idiots. But I don't even know if it would be possible because you would need Bama to win. Whatever. I'm not going to dive into it. But you obviously want me to talk about Penn State, Michigan, right? Like you want me to go into that, or you want me to just kind of get to go past the miserable night of my life?
Yeah, I don't want you to, I don't want you to relive that.
It's fine. I'll give you some analysis. So, if you listen to the Big Ten preview, I said my biggest fear about this team was the linebacking core, and I forgot. I got swept up in the emotion. I was all excited, and it's like I completely forgot that Penn State has really no linebackers besides Curtis Jacobs, who did have a pick 6, which was super weird play, like bouncing off helmets. But other than that, it didn't really matter. They couldn't stop the run. Interestingly enough, James Franklin made a comment in the post game, which was like kind of a direct shot at one of his starting defensive tackles, talking about how everybody thinks they're Aaron Donald, and like that's not how like normal defensive tackles are. Like that's the anomaly, and guys need to bulk up and all that stuff. I have a major problem with this statement because, one, you choose who goes on the field. If you think your defensive tackle is too small to play against Michigan, that's your fault. You're in charge of nutrition, weight training, everything in college, not like pros. Like these guys are basically their hands are held the entire 4 years they're on a campus. So like that was kind of bullshit. But it is a valid criticism only in the sense that Penn State doesn't really have a defensive tackle outside of PJ Mustipher. I actually went back and I was looking at Penn State went, I think, 2 to 3 years between PJ Mustipher, who was a top 100 true defensive tackle recruit, till the next true defensive tackle recruit they got. And when you are not recruiting defensive tackles, you will get demolished in games like this. And it's because you don't have dudes big enough to deal with the dudes who are big on the other team. So I was
ask University of Arizona; they know all about it.
It just sucks, dude. Because like honestly, I'm like I was so excited, and like you know what, I shouldn't have got that amped up. They didn't even throw the ball on Penn State. Like literally, they just ran. They ran for 400 fucking yards.
Stanford Harbaugh back in the building.
Yeah, dude. I was like, it was just super depressing. But I don't know. I mean, the best year I can remember as a Penn State fan honestly started out 2-2. I'm not saying they're going to beat Ohio State, but let's just say something stupid happens, and like I never expect them to beat Ohio State, but if it were to happen by miracle, they could save the year. They could go 10-2, honestly, just losing to Michigan and
Yeah.
Ohio State, and it's like it's a good enough year. It's not where I want them to be, but I got a little too swept up. I was all excited. They were 5-0 going into Michigan, and we just got pummeled, and it sucks.
Happens to the best of us, buddy. It's okay. It's okay.
I lost 3 bets on that stupid game because I sprinkled money line. I did Penn State against the spread. I did the under, which, by the way, if Penn State could have even made Michigan punt 3 times, might have actually hit. But whatever. I hate everything. I'm miserable again.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on then.
Yeah.
I think outside of that, pretty
it's good
normal
analysis.
weekend.
Yeah, from a miserable person. Full weekend in college football. I love when Bama goes down.
Yeah. Let's get to this week, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you want to know what giant goes down this week?
Who's that?
Clemson, baby. Clemson's going down.
Who do they got this week?
They got Syracuse.
Whoa.
I got 2 picks on this. Now, one mistake I made last week was I did equal units on the money line dog and the spread. I am doing a half unit on the money line dog, and I'm doing a full unit on Syracuse plus 13.5. If you haven't watched Syracuse football, they are a good team. They're one of the only teams that has multiple wins over, I think, well, at least this is true as of like the bye week 2 weeks ago, but like one of the only teams that had multiple wins over Power 5 teams. They've been tested. They have a good quarterback, and Clemson always seems to have that one loss that makes no sense. It's Pitt. Sometimes it's Syracuse. But yeah, I'm taking Syracuse on this one, and I think they can do it. This is kind of that one I've been circling, been like waiting. I think they're plus 400 money line dogs. Like it's
nice.
It's a nice juicy one that if you can hit it, I don't know who else is going to give them really a shot in the ACC. So
yeah,
I love that game. I don't know if you guys got any thoughts on it. I know I'm the only degenerate that watches Syracuse every single week because I bet on them every single week, but they're good.
Syracuse they have a good running back too. So, their
Good
offense has
quarterback.
been kind of humming. Yeah, good quarterback, good running back. Dino Babers is a former U of A coach, so I'm fully on board with this pick.
I, with no joy, will continue to bang the Clemson drum. They're fine. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like reasonable minds can differ, but I just think Clemson's, Ungalele's played so much better. They're super strong on that defensive line. Like they've had some banged up guys in the secondary, so they haven't been perfect there. But like all in all, they've just been solid. And it'd be interesting if they get an interesting game out of Syracuse, because I do think Syracuse is, as you mentioned, like I do think they're sneaky good. So it's an interesting test, but it's at Clemson, so these things happen. But I don't mind the bet though from like a point standpoint either. But just in general, like just I think Clemson's going to win.
Well, you want to talk about good running backs, by the way? Clemson's running back, Will Shipley, that dude could be like the next.
He's a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, number 1 running back prospect in the country. So recruiting wins.
Is he related
games.
to Jordan?
No,
I don't know.
The Texas Shipley? You would think,
think
right?
so.
How many? I don't even know.
Maybe he's related to A.Q.
so.
Shipley, the famous Penn State center, who's friends with
Pat
there you go.
Former Baltimore Raven. Yeah. No, I was going to say he could be like the next McCaffrey, simply because he's a white running back that also catches out of the backfield. So
yeah. They all look the same.
See, how many white Shipleys could there be? He's got to be related.
It seems like a relatively common name, but yeah, it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, who knows? Maybe it doesn't hit, but I honestly, like, Clemson covered last week. I was on them for that. Like, that was nice, but like, it's also it's college football. Stupid shit happens, and Syracuse is a good enough team that shit could happen with them. What I'm really excited about, and I didn't get to talk about my depraved pick of the week last week, but it basically has followed. I'm going full circle, guys. So do you remember who I had last week by chance? I know the listeners don't. This is bad podcasting, but
James Madison.
James Madison, right? And they were playing Georgia Southern. And what I've been doing is whichever depraved team.
You got Clay Helton the fuck up real quick.
Yeah. So I'm on Georgia Southern +2 at Old Dominion. So this is really going full circle because I could be right back on my depraved pick of the week. With Old Dominion, who I wrote through the early part of the season. So
just circling through, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta let me know what channel that one's on. I might be fully invested.
Dude, honestly, Old Dominion's looked like a wagon the last 2 weeks when I haven't been betting on them, so like that sucks. But yeah, it's worst case scenario. I get back on my Old Dominion picks. So Georgia Southern +2 at Old Dominion.
Life finds a way.
Dude. Yeah,
life does.
It
find
all comes
a way.
full circle, baby.
It's the decaying body in the forest that turns into a beautiful tree.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, real quick, you know who Old Dominion did beat last week? Coastal Carolina.
They did,
and
they
that one hurts.
Oh,
it was like
the
49
to 21. Yeah.
They crushed them. And
you say Chanticleer is a little more French when they lose. Oh, the Chanticleers? I don't know.
Yes,
I don't want to bet on those guys. They're winning. I mean, it sounds like a badass name. When they're losing, pretty French.
You can't have your mascot named after a Chaucer poem. That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
Chaucer, some of the worst stuff I ever read in high school, by the way. Nothing more painful than reading. I was like borderline in a fight with my English teacher. Like, I will not read this bullshit.
It's the same thing with Frankenstein. That book's written like horribly, and it's like, read Frankenstein. Mary Ann Shelley did a great job. It's like, no, this book sucks. But
any other books you want to burn? Any other books you want to burn, Dugan? While we're burning books,
I got one too.
Listen here, bud.
He does. Do you read?
Y'all are a lot more scholarly than I was, apparently.
How about Jess of the Tubervilles? You like that one, Dugan?
What even is that, Ben?
Yeah, it's dog shit. Don't waste your time.
James A. Michener, the source, is about 10,000 pages of what is basically an archaeological digest. It's fucking horrible. And I mean, there's some books I really hate. We can go through bad books.
This just become a literature podcast? What the hell?
Well, it's kind of like the opposite of that. I think we're actually recommending you don't read and that you just, get Netflix.
Yeah. It's like
most people are doing anyway.
Anti-book club right now.
Good Lord. Didn't know you guys were so smart.
Maybe we should do this every week, and we'll just reference books that Dugan doesn't know, and he's just going to sit there and be like, yeah, I agree.
Right, start picking up wine sponsors. I like that.
Look for my literature plug of the week next week. I only have 4 more picks. I've changed my whole formatting, and it kind of worked out last week, besides the one game I hammered the ever-living shit out of. Texas is at Oklahoma State. I know Oklahoma State kind of had that heartbreaker against TCU, but Oklahoma State is a home dog getting 6 points against Texas. I know Texas is much better than, with Quinn Ewers back in charge, but give me the home dog. Yeah. Stupid things happen in college football, and OK State +6. I think it's at 6.5 now. I would take it. Like, why not? It's still Texas. They always find a way to implode.
Yeah,
I would normally agree with you, but I feel like the reason they usually implode is because they don't have a quarterback that's dynamic, and Quinn Ewers he's damn good. So I don't know, man.
Jordan Shipley ain't walking through that door.
I mean, you're right, because his brother plays at Clemson. You're totally right. I don't know, man. Texas is really good right now. So
yeah. Oh no, they are.
That's tough.
But
I like that though. Tough to go into Bedlam. So I mean, that's always it's kind of like it's not exactly Utah at night, but I mean, it's a similar type of place where that's a tough environment. So if you're going to take your roll of the die on a dog, that's a good place to take it.
Listen, bro, staring into Mike Gundy's eyes is like staring into a barrel of a gun. All right. You just never know what's going to happen.
I never got past the hair, bro.
Yep.
Well, Bedlam is great home environment. You gotta just hope that every year Texas and Oklahoma disintegrate and fall apart. Like, Oklahoma's already done it. Texas hasn't. They only really have that one bad loss. Like, I don't know. if it's going to happen, it's probably going to happen against OK State or TCU. But I feel like the classic Big 12 moment would be losing this game and then beating TCU, and they just cannibalize each other, and nobody goes to the college football playoff.
Hey, can we talk about that really quick though? You mentioned TCU. What a wagon they are, huh? Nobody thought that, huh? Nobody ever tried to bring that up on a Big 12 preview.
Yeah, I don't think they're very good.
We're like on his ass. Meanwhile, we fired Chip Kelly, who's going to go to the championship.
Yeah, we've never been wrong.
I was like, we're undefeated, so I mean, can't believe we had a guest on who misfired on TCU.
For me, like, gosh, this is gonna sound so dumb because we were so wrong on UCLA, but it's just the fact that he said that they were going to be not good at all, and they're low-key a wagon. All right,
I was betting against him because he sold me on it. When people speak with enough conviction, I don't follow the Horned Frogs.
He was very convincing.
You get one person in your life.
Guy would run a hell of a church, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's like this guy believes it. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm riding with him. So yeah, I mean, anyway, anybody tells me anything with enough conviction, I'm like, okay, sure, like I trust you, and then I lose.
I agree.
You know how many people are burning Chaucer books tonight?
Like that guy was pretty adamant that was a bad, stupid.
Yeah. Like I hope people are writing their senators tonight. Like, not in my school district, you son of a.
Yeah, add Chaucer to the banned books list.
Of Mice and Men was a stupid ass book. There, how about that? Of Mice and Men.
No.
So short. Who cares? Why did it even bother you? Dude, it's like 10-minute read.
Steinbeck.
That's the guy that doesn't like Krispy Kremes. Like, I can't take you
no. You
serious at all.
Don't deflect here. I'm telling you, if you can't take Steinbeck and like that short of a section, you never would have read some of his best books. East of Eden is a phenomenal book. But he spent
Ben
pages
low-key like a librarian.
Dude, some people had to read in school. I don't know what you were doing. Like, I had to read too. I'm with Ben, and I'm like, if you're going to complain about a novella, I'm like, I know you didn't get Playboy for the articles.
Okay, listen here, Henny. I know that you're a little bit older than Ben and I, and like maybe you didn't have Spark Notes back in your day. Maybe you did. I don't know. I use Spark Notes, and Ben was just a nerd, so I don't know what we're getting at here, boys.
We all work at the same company, so what's that tell us? You know,
it's true.
Yeah,
I could have sparked out of my way through life and still been exactly where I'm at. But
there was like some monkey one too. I don't remember. Yeah, they were all out there. I mean, there was books that I needed to. I was like, this is painful. Like Chaucer. I mean, God, there's some painful stuff that I was like, all right, just give me the Cliff Notes or whatever. But you know, if you're gonna give me 70 pages, like I'll just tough it out.
Lord of the Flies was cool. That was a good book.
See, you're almost there. You're starting to like realize that books can be fun. But you know what?
Listen, I like books. All right, like I read like the Hatchet was super dope. That was a great book.
Ooh, Gary Paulson, nice.
Yeah, written for fourth graders. Good job, man.
Ben. That's right about when I stopped reading, bro. Like.
Statistically, that is when most people lose their interest in reading, just so you know, is fourth grade.
I read a lot of nonfiction. All right. Like you want to take your boy to a trivia night and win some money. That's what we're going to do. Because your boy read a lot of trivia, a lot of nonfiction. That's where my interest was. You were over here reading some fiction. I don't know.
Reading,
dude. That wasn't
like great literary minds. Like, I mean, hey, let's
know what? I'll give you credit because you do have an Edgar Allan Poe inspired tattoo that you just got. So, you know, shout outs to you.
True that. Well, hey, you know, if we're going to get off of the topic of books, let's go to a game that I have great expectations for. Minnesota at Penn State.
I know what you did there.
Yeah, you like that? You know that one, right? So horrible book.
Nothing from Henny though, so maybe that was one Henny didn't get to. So every now and then I just mute, and if you're screaming, I can sit one out. It's okay. I'll let you have your airtime. I'm a team player.
I just thought it was really good. I don't know.
That's a good point.
It is good, but when your reactions sometimes like are just like too good, I just kind of like sit it out. I'm like it's way more enjoyable to hear you enjoy it than for me to come off mute to go like nice.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Ben.
So this over under is pretty low. It's the whiteout game. It is a 7:30 kick at Penn State. Here's what I'll tell you. This over under is currently reflecting the fact that they are not sure if Tanner Morgan is going to play. Here's what I'll tell you. This is me becoming unbiased and starting to try to pick smart picks. Whether or not Tanner Morgan plays doesn't matter. The way you beat Penn State is you run the fucking ball, and Mohamed Ibrahim is going to do that against Penn State. Now, I don't
You've been
think
on him all year.
I have, dude, because he's really fucking good, and they have a potential first round pick as a center. They have a great tight end. They are built not as massively as Michigan. They are built for a game plan that will play to Penn State's weaknesses. So Minnesota should be scoring. Penn State hopefully should be scoring. 44 is pretty low, and if Tanner Morgan plays, I think this thing is like a 60-point game. So I think that over is pretty safe because you're really looking at a line that is down based off of just the fact the QB is down, not necessarily looking at what the strength of Minnesota is against Penn State. I think 44 is an easy over this week for that.
Yeah, I like it.
I also like Penn State.
What version of Clifford are we getting, you think, this week? Because he was dog shit last week.
Well, he might not play.
Might not get at all.
He might not
probably
play,
getting Drew Lar,
which would also indicate more points for Penn State. But yeah, I think if we do go to Drew Lar, we have Tanner Morgan. We don't have Tanner Morgan. You also have the very famous revenge game of Kirk Shiraka, the offensive coordinator for Minnesota, who got dumped for Yursich, and floundered around for 1 year, then ended back at Minnesota. Like, this is his revenge game, so you got to figure he's going to try to pile on the points. And as long as Penn State can at least score something, I mean, I hope they win, but I'm not betting on the spreads anymore. I'm done. They lost me last week. So Penn State over 44.5, and I'm say you punch that one. That one should be pretty straightforward.
I've been friends long enough with you, Ben, that I remember when you were excited about Kurt Shiraka being your OC.
Well, to be fair, I do think he's a good offensive coordinator, but literally we hired him and it's like, oh, just kidding, global pandemic. Teach college kids your offense through Zoom and don't meet with them in person. And then it kind of, it blew up. I feel bad. I think he actually probably was a decent coordinator. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm not sure he's worse than Mike Yursich. I think they're probably, whatever. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, coordinators bite the bullet in big programs if you struggle. Like you're locked into your head coach. So if you lose 4 games at Penn State, someone's going to go, and it's going to be a coordinator.
Yeah, pretty much. I got only 2 picks left. They're both SEC games. Ole Miss at LSU. Ole Miss is honestly, in my opinion, they're a wagon. They are on the road. It's a very, very close game. You might as well just take these guys as money line dogs. But plus 1.5, I've seen crazier shit happen. So I'll take the chance for specifically, the 27-26 victory by LSU to get the cover. I'm not impressed by LSU. I'm not really super knowledgeable about anything Ole Miss other than that they are good. So fuck it, I'm taking it. It's a low spread for a better team going against the worst team.
Dude, Jody's got that team rocking and rolling right now. I know Henny's just pumped as hell.
Well,
that's your boy, man.
Who are we talking about?
Jody Freshwater, bro.
Oh, Jody. You're saying you're like Joey Freshwater?
Oh yeah, I thought it was Jody.
Yeah, you're like, oh, Jody, and I'm like, I don't know if his wife uses the same name and does the same kind of stuff, but if she does, good on her.
That's your boy, dude.
Yeah, but I do like Ole Miss, and they look good, man. I just think if you watch an Ole Miss game, he's one of those guys as a play caller that just schemes dudes open, and he just looks smarter than the other guy a lot of the time. So if his defense can keep him in ball games, eventually he's going to scheme something that works. He seems to figure it out on the fly. They're always playing fast, and they just win. I mean, I'm impressed with Joey.
Thank you, dude. What a couple of hires in the state of Mississippi though that turned out to be, huh? Like Lane and our good old ball coach down at Mississippi State. Like,
Pac-12 coaching.
Yeah, dude. That's true. Both Pac-12 guys. It's like the Pac-12 has good football. Who would have thought?
So you guys continuously set me up for good transitions. My last pick is Mississippi State against the spread. This is a scary one because you got to figure that, that practice with Alabama all week, crime and punishment from Nick Saban. He's just going at these guys all day. Probably they're going to come out and try to prove a point, but I don't think Alabama is as dominant as they have been in years past. And 21.5 points is a lot of points, even in the SEC. It's not Vanderbilt we're talking about here. Like, this is a good team, and Alabama hasn't really been putting people away with spreads this big. Give me Mississippi State plus 3.5, 3 touchdowns and the extra half point to get the cover. Or Nick Saban just whips them into shape and kills them all, and then we're, living with survivor's guilt and all that stuff and whatever.
I can't believe Bama's favored by 21. Like, I know they're really, really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and act like just because they lost to Tennessee, like they're suddenly like not a good team. But like 21 is a lot of points in an interdivisional game that you're playing a team that scores a shit ton of points.
They didn't cover against Texas. They didn't cover against Texas A&M. They didn't cover against Tennessee.
Yep.
That's a shitload of points. That is a shitload of points. So plus 21.5. And that concludes my college slate.
I like all the picks, dude.
Can we throw in one more game just for kicks? Like, I'm just curious what you guys' thoughts are. And it doesn't have to be gambling wise, but just like Oregon, UCLA, because it is a big game. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts.
I can guarantee.
Why didn't you touch that one?
Because one Pac-12 scares the shit out of me, and I've watched UCLA enough to be like, they're good, but I don't know how good. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think Pac-12 is going to cannibalize themselves. I think Oregon beats UCLA, and then Oregon gets left out of the college football playoff because they're a one-loss team that got demolished by Georgia. So that seems like the most likely outcome to me.
Yeah,
but UCLA is a really fucking good team. It
does. The most typical Pac-12 story is exactly what Ben laid out. Like, that's the most likely thing to happen just from like a storyline standpoint. That's why I was like, throw out Vegas and just like, what would be the funniest thing that could happen? And Ben nailed it.
Yep. So it would suck so hard though. God. That is going to be a very, very good game. You're asking me to pick one team or another. Like, I guess I'd probably have to go with Oregon just because their defense is so good, right? Their pass defense isn't the greatest, but man, they have some linebackers, and I feel like UCLA's offense is very predicated on the run, right? With Charbonnet and the other, I think they have a freshman running back that's really good, and then obviously their quarterback's got some wheels too. But I don't know, man. I guess if I'm going to go with either team, I'm going to go with the team that has the outstanding, defense.
What about Bo Nix?
Listen, dude, Bo Nix absolutely bent over my college team and just took him to town. I was wrong. All right, I'm man enough to admit it. He's looking really good, dude. I think now that he's out of the limelight of Auburn, now he's out of the limelight of Auburn and not so much pressure. I think he's just playing to his ability, bro. He's talented. And you know what? Like, his ability to run that they've actually utilized at Oregon this year has completely unlocked a different side of Bo Nix. So he's looking good, man. Good for him.
I just the only way I see this happening is Oregon demolishes them, and it's like then UCLA is a one loss, 2-loss team. Oregon's a 1-loss team. It's like nobody gets in. It just sucks.
It's tradition like any other.
So I don't know. I'm not touching it because I'm a changed man. I'm not gambling as I used to. 3 weeks ago, when I got 35 picks, I'd be on it, but not this week.
Well, that's called growth, buddy. Good job. The days of you having 21 different picks are gone, but I'm sure that on Saturday you'll probably you'll find some other games to bet on. I just know you. So yeah, so we have a good slate this weekend. Thanks, John, for bringing up that great Pac-12 matchup, because that truly is like, man, that's going to be must-see TV. Hopefully it's not how Ben is prophesying it. I hope it's not just pure cannibalism in the Pac-12, because Pac-12 has been a lot of fun this year, a lot of really good teams, and I would love to see them go up against some of the big dogs in the playoff. Besides Georgia, I never want to see Oregon play Georgia again. Good God, that was painful. So, you boys ready to move to the NFL?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about some of the games last week really quick, since we shouted out the games in college from last week. You guys know I'm just so happy because my team is just doing exactly what I thought they would, right? I'm at the point, boys. I think it's time to let Harbaugh go.
Wow.
You don't lose. I don't think you should lose 3 games when you are leading the entire game. When you have the talent that we have now, I know Lamar didn't play great against the Giants, but I also think there were some really stupid decisions made by Harbaugh, which just coincide with all the losses we have this year. So I just think, you know what, a guy like Harbaugh that's been there for 14, 15 years, I think maybe his messaging has just grown a tad stale. Losing to Danny Dimes was enough for me to say, you know what, it's time for Harbaugh to go. I think we need some fresh blood. I think you fire him, you fire Greg Roman, and you let T. Martin take over and let the offense fly. That was a tough game for me last week. I don't want to talk too much about it more than I already have, but outside of that,
you're going straight head coach fire, and you're not even going coordinator first.
No, we're going both, dude.
And do you want to hire Jim Harbaugh?
No, I don't. I'm so sick of the Harbaughs right now, dude. Here's the thing:
who knows the organization? The organization understands the family. It seems like a good fit.
Here's the thing with John Harbaugh. Okay, since he's been head coach in 2008, he's scapegoated his way every single time, right? Like he fired Cam Cameron, which, whatever, that was fine. He then hired Trestman. Trestman was a train wreck because everybody knew he was going to be. Got away with that. And then hired on Greg Roman. And Greg can run a good offense, but it's just very predictable. And I think it's played out by now. And he just keeps firing all these coordinators. And I think, right, like, eventually you got to fire the guy that like hires these guys. So I think it's just time to move on at the end of the day. That's what I'm thinking. So I don't know. Do you guys think I'm being over dramatic or?
No, I mean, I always want to fire my coaches. So
yeah. It's like, I was like, as a fan, it's the only thing you can do. You're just like, I don't know. I think we need to fire everybody again. I don't know, man. I think it's like, I don't know if it's over dramatic, but I mean, I do like watching the ride of like, Ravens win, Lamar Jackson, MVP. How do you not cast the vote? Ravens lose. We have to fire Harbaugh. So I do think it's fun to watch from like an outside perspective as a non-Ravens fan. That ebb and flow, that push and pull of it's definitely Harbaugh or, Lamar is God. And I don't know. I really don't watch them close enough to know the answer. I wouldn't say that I know the ins and outs. Like, your team. Like, you've been, they've been around, Harbaugh forever. So, if you're feeling that way, like, it's been a long ride. It's not like this is some knee-jerk reaction or a franchise that just like fires a coach every 2 years before anybody gets something going. So, if you feel that's where he needs to go, I assume it's not, crazy talk.
I'll say this. I've been a Harbaugh defender for a while, but I've just gotten to the point where like the offense is just so stale. And you can even see it with some of the players that they're getting annoyed with it. Like somebody like Marlon Humphrey goes up post-game and like low-key talks shit. He puts on Twitter, like, the definition of insanity, blah, 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 that whole quote. And I don't know, man, if you lose the locker room, it's not good, right? So we'll see. If they lose to the Browns, like I guarantee he's not going to make it. He's going to get fired on Monday, right? So we'll see. Browns are pretty bad though. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. Let's highlight some of the other games. Ben, your Steelers beat the Bucks, which you totally were not predicting. You thought Tom Brady was going to own you again, but your defense played pretty well, right? And you guys got Tom Brady extremely, extremely pissed off to the point where they catch him on camera absolutely berating his offensive line like the piece of shit that he is. You have any thoughts on that game, Ben?
I mean, I still think you fire everybody too. But no, this is classic why the NFL is impossible to gamble on. There is no reason they should have been able to stop the Bucks other than I think the Bucks are bad. So
that offensive line is horrid.
Like, I really think that's what this comes down to. I don't think this is like, whoa, there's light at the end of the tunnel. No, like, this team still sucks. So here's what I'll say. Instead of being 1-7 going into the bye week, they're going to be 2-6. They are still dog shit. And the Bucks are actually just not very good. Yeah, I don't know. It's nice to get the win. I think Mitch Trubisky is like, if you looked at it, he kind of was like actually throwing the ball places instead of just like, 3 yards out to the sideline. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah.
But
he looked rejuvenated for sure.
Well, it's his last chance to, prove that he can be the guy. So whatever. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I just think that Bucks aren't that good. Steelers are still very bad.
Why don't we pivot then? Like, do you guys think, like,
you think
Brady? Yeah, I think Brady is pretty much like cooked. Not cooked. I don't want to say cooked. Like, he's still Brady, right? But like, he's definitely not the Brady that we're used to, right? Like, he's mentally not there. I don't think he looks as physically as great, and like he's struggling. Don't you boys think?
Don't shame him for his plastic surgery.
Yeah, he's looking strange.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I mean, even when he won, right, with the Bucks, which obviously was like some incredible, I mean, it was a great roster around him, right? The defense was playing out of their mind.
Yeah.
He had a ton of weapons. And as that roster's like been chipped away at, and of course they have some injuries now, like
getting older.
At his age, he's not going to just be able to put a team on his back. So, I mean, it's very much the Chris Paul thing. It's very much Aaron Rodgers, I think, is seeing the same thing, right? We've seen diminishing returns on that roster around him. And he's going to do the same thing where he's just like, all right, Aaron Rodgers can like not turn the ball over and he can still complete a proficient amount of passes. But if you don't have that explosive down the field game and you're not committed to the run and you don't have a dominant defense, then like he becomes average too, which is kind of speaking to what we've been talking about all year, which is like, it's really tough to watch all these quarterbacks play. We're taking the under on everything. If you're like really going to bet those numbers, it's the logical choice 70% of the time, because there's just a lot of like very average quarterback play behind like a lot of unhealthy offensive lines. And there seems to have been a shift to where these defenses have caught up to kind of this spread game stuff. And now we're getting the reverse and the pivot back to like the power run game, which is why the Eagles are apparently the best team in football.
Yeah, no, you're completely correct. Well, hey, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers, man. Like, they lost to the Jets, right? The Jets are looking so much more improved under Robert Saleh. Like, Sauce Gardner's been a revelation for them. Zach Wilson is just so rejuvenated after having a lovely summer with somebody's mom. The Jets look good, but let's talk about the Packers. Like, I think exactly what you just said about Tom Brady, that it can be applied to Aaron Rodgers, right? And the guy, it's been said all offseason, doesn't have any weapons, but like, I think just that whole team, it's just not that good, right? Like, I think we're seeing the roster construction hasn't been as good as we thought it would be. Losing the edge rusher and Zadarius Smith, losing, your best weapon on offense. Are you guys surprised that the Packers have been this bad?
I mean, they've been in a shitty division for so long that it was kind of, it's like granted, they haven't really played divisional games that much yet. It's like, I don't know. I'm looking at it. It's like, yeah, once they start playing the Packers, or the Packers start playing the Bears and the Vikings, granted, the Vikings actually look decent. But like, I think once you kind of get into the actual meat of their conference play, like they'll have a decent enough record to be in the playoffs, but they don't seem like a
Yeah.
contender.
Okay. Yep. What
Yeah,
about you,
and I
Henny?
don't think that right. And don't you think they've? I mean, when was the last time you really believed them as contender? Right. We talk about them like winning the division, and I think it just really speaks to what Ben just said. They play the Lions twice. They play the Bears twice. If they split with the Vikings, that puts them in a really good place to be in the playoffs. But we know inevitably that they're going to fail in the playoffs. Like, I mean, I haven't trusted the Packers in the playoffs. I mean, outside of maybe winning that first round game in a long, long time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, they've never really had something that like really, really scared you to that point. So, as we saw them, obviously losing some weapons, I'm like, well, it's probably going to be a little tough for sledding, but I still believe in Rodgers to, as Ben said, probably make the playoffs. But then eventually, this just isn't going to work long term. And so, yeah, I don't understand how teams have these older like quarterbacks that you still have a chance with, and then don't put the pieces around. I mean, it's like I don't know. It's weird. I can't imagine going for anything but broke and just like throwing every asset you have at it because you have no idea when you're going to get lucky on a quarterback again. And if you do, you're going to have a rookie and you're going to have him on the cheap. And if you have the pieces around, great. Or, the money comes off the books out. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I want to hit on a couple more games and then we'll move on to the slate this weekend. I think probably the biggest game that happened this past weekend, right, boys, was probably that Buffalo Kansas City game. You want to talk about close, with a minute left. He hits Dawson Knox for the touchdown. The Bills, I don't think it's any question, right? They are the best team in the AFC for sure, maybe the best team in the NFL. Josh Allen is an absolute unit. Potentially maybe the best quarterback in the league. I think head-to-head, we saw that this weekend. He might have usurped Patty Mahomes. The Bills, if they end up adding Odell Beckham, they could be an absolute problem. Is that fair to say, boys?
Yeah, and I don't know. I love watching those two play. Like I got sick of like the Manning Tom Brady matchups. Like back
just the
in the
boring
day.
ass vanilla offense.
But like, give me this every week, and I'm cool with it because they'll probably split with Buffalo, maybe taking a few more games.
You boys think? I just thought of something. You think this might be a product of the generation of current quarterbacks growing up playing Madden and watching Michael Vick and stuff like that, and running around the pocket and making stuff happen. I just feel like that's very video game-esque. Think that plays anything to it?
Totally.
I mean, that's what. If that's a factor in it, then I'm gonna try out for the NFL. That's all I'll say. I can't like. There's just a level of like the offensive coordinators have gotten really good. Maybe it's more the offensive coordinators than anything else because like
true, more
even like
innovative.
Yeah, it's every year there's some, maybe not every year, but like every 3 years there's like this like fundamental shift, and like, all right, this new thing is working, and they start doing that, and it's like when you have such talented quarterbacks who can do anything that they want, like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, like it just ends up like being really great football to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can like.
Go ahead, Annie.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know if you can pin it to like Madden specifically, but I mean, you mentioned Michael Vick, right? Do you think these guys watched Michael Vick growing up, dreaming of being like Michael Vick, and thought, "Hey, I'm going to try to do this on a football field when I get there"? Yeah, like I mean, that's just like the natural progression of things, and like what we're seeing is coaches having faith in them, maybe because they played Madden, probably not. These guys are still all 60, but like, that just the natural progression of like this is what can be done as a quarterback. And I think Mahomes definitely broke it open. I mean, he broke the whole thing, right? Like now everything's unlocked, and what are the rules? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, totally. I think you're right. Like Michael Vick, Vince Young back in the day, even, right? Maybe even sprinkle in a little Johnny Football with it, right? Like I think it's just been a natural progression. No, I know it sounds corny, right? But like I'm dead ass serious. Like Johnny Football in college, like was absolutely game changing, right? Like he was an electric factory.
I got too much money in my fucking hand. Best video of all time, dude. But
you know what I mean? Like I think he did play a small part and changing the narrative of how offenses are going to be played. And then I think really, having games like Madden and stuff where, you can kind of dream build and see it happen. I just think I agree with you, Ben. The era of football that we're going into is just so damn fun that you have players like Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen, who's just a tank out there.
Well, here's what I'll say. I don't think we have this the league as a whole, I think is kind of garbage right now. There are some incredible quarterbacks, but it's kind of brutal if you're not, one of the top 4 QB favored. Like that's your squad. Because dude, I'm pretty goddamn miserable watching my team, and I don't know, you at least have Lamar Jackson and you have Justin Herbert. I'm not sitting here hell yeah, let me turn this game on type thing. But I think it really just comes down to there's a decent group of young quarterbacks in the league, but I don't think we're not in the heyday that I wish we were just yet. It can happen. It can happen. But
I think we're on our way though, for sure. Because even if you look at the crop of quarterbacks in college, right? Bryce Young's going to be a baller. Stroud's going to be a baller. Hendon Hooker, even if he's going to be 25 after draft day, looks to be an absolutely great quarterback. So there's some guys out there, man, making it happen.
That's not how it works. We've seen that's not how it works. That's why it is was a tease, because we had this bridge gap of the Brady Rodgers we were talking about, the evolution of Mahomes and Allen. But the reality is we get excited about these guys in college and they come in and it's just that there's a tremendous bust rate. It doesn't really happen that way.
Yep.
So I think it's really cyclical, and we had a nice window of those overlapping periods, and it's going to happen again at some point where we'll have really good quarterback play. But it's completely regressed to where I'm back to so there's really 5 guys that are pretty special. And even still, it's debatable on whether it's really just Allen and Mahomes are up above the rest. Because as much as I love watching Lamar and as much as I want to be excited about Herbert, they do feel a whole tier below those 2 guys.
No, you're right, for sure.
Maybe it has what to do with what they have around them or whatever. But, I mean, those 2 guys are playing a different game.
It may be kind of similar to that. What was it, the 04 draft? Guys, right? You did have your Peyton Mannings and your Brady's who were number 1 and 2. And then you, you just said, John, you have your immediate slot under where you have your Roethlisbergers, your
Eli, Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers, great pick. But yeah, they all did feel kind of still just a slot below those 2 guys, right? But it was still really good era of football. It was competitive.
Drew Brees, right? There were probably 10 that could win you a Super Bowl. I feel like there's 4 that can win you a Super Bowl right now. Maybe. I mean, I even want to take Stafford out of it. I want to take Stafford out of the conversation because he can only fucking throw to Cooper Kupp.
I agree. Let's go through it, right? We have the top 2. Yep. And we have Lamar, Herbert, Joe Burrow. So that's 3.
Hurts. Maybe. Do we trust Hurts yet? It's too early.
Maybe.
It's
it would be
6 games. I mean, he's probably in Hurts and Tua are maybe could be there. Yeah. So let's not put them in there.
They're still probably a tier below, until next year.
2 tiers down.
Kyler's probably the same thing as those 2. Yeah. Kyler's probably the same as the other 2.
Kyler's dangerous. There's a bunch of those guys that are in that in between where they're dangerous, but I mean, it's to me I'm with Ben. It's 4 or 5 guys probably that you're these guys are really a cut above the rest, and there's a few other guys in the prove it area.
I think we're still in a decent era of football, though. You know what I'm saying? Well, I like what I'm seeing at least. I like the creativity. I like the athleticism. To Ben's original point, I think it's a lot better football nowadays than just pure pocket passers going back there and you're running a very traditional offense. That's all
it is. But I will also say that we have gone back to, I thought we actually had a couple of years there that overlapped really nicely where I was the NFL caught up to the excitement of college football. And I actually think this year, college football far more watchable than the NFL again. Not even close. I enjoy the Saturdays so much more than I do on Sundays.
I do too.
I don't even think it's close. And then like when we get into the playoffs and bowl season and all that stuff, like it's not even going to be close. Those championship games are going to be so much better than whatever we get out of the NFL product come playoff time. I like willing to bet my life on it.
Yeah. No, dude, it's almost unfair though, because this college football season has been really, really fun. The Tennessee storyline, right? Like just a bunch of different things. Michigan being what they look all the way back, right? Like they talked about it last year, but they look even better than last year. Ohio State doesn't look like they've slowed down. Like college football has been incredible this year. So I don't blame both of you for saying that. But the NFL season is also young, right? It can develop and it could turn out to be a fun season. But I agree with you. I think even like the last couple of weeks have been very indicative of how the season's been. It's just been very piss poor, like primetime football. And I hope it picks up. That's all I'm going to say. So perfect. Well, let's move into this week, boys. I think last week we've said enough. Let's look at the slate we got this week, right? So tomorrow night we have the Saints at the Cardinals. The Cardinals did just trade for Robbie Anderson after he got kicked off the sideline of the Panthers. They did lose Marquise Brown. They initially said for the season. Now they're kind of walking that back. It might not be the whole season. But I think at the end of the day, right, boys, we can all agree these are two teams that are struggling pretty hard right now. Jameis might have lost his starting spot to Andy freaking Dalton. So that's a tough look. I think the Saints, the cap space is a myth conjecture. I think it's kind of proving that it's not a myth, right? Like I think them losing some big players with Teron Armstead, Marcus Williams, not having a real stud quarterback, it's starting to show, right? I think that's why they're struggling. Also, Michael Thomas can't stay healthy. And then the Cardinals, I've been pining on this for what, John? Like the start of this podcast, that Cliff Kingsbury is just a terrible coach. And I think that is also showing its true colors as well. Not the best Thursday night football game. It's also not the worst though, because good Lord, that game last week was tough on the eyes. And then the Monday night football wasn't much better. No offense, John. But what do you guys think for this game? Are we riding with the Cardinals? You think the return of DeAndre Hopkins can fuel them enough to get past the Saints?
Saints are a quarterback away, man.
So.
I would hope.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, doesn't it feel like the myth of the Saints, like in the free agency, and I didn't mean to cut you up, Ben, but like had more to do with the fact that you just said Andy Dalton won the starting job. Like, I mean, that's not a myth. That's like a reality, and that just sucks.
Yeah, it sucks because we love Jameis on this podcast. You know,
I don't know. He's supposed to potentially play, right?
Well, now they're saying that he might have just straight up lost his his starting job. So,
what?
I don't know. Yeah. So
well,
I think we take the Cardinals.
Playing head games, like you don't know who to scheme for. We got so many options at quarterback. Throwing the Taysom Hill wrench, you don't know what's coming.
Taysom Hill, by the way, is still listed as a tight end in fantasy. If you're not picking him up, like you're missing out.
I'm so bummed he was off the waivers in my league. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is a dog shit game. I'm going to be watching the Penguins on Thursday.
That's why the NBA is back, baby. You don't have to take me anymore on Thursday nights, NFL. See you later. Plus, we still have NCAA football on Thursday nights. Like, guys, just don't do this to yourself. If you don't want to watch this game, don't do it.
I'm going to watch it strictly because I have DeAndre Hopkins in one of my really big leagues, and I want to see how he does. So I'm going to take the Cardinals. Let's go on, though. For Sunday, we got Cleveland at Baltimore. I already kind of hit on this game. I think John Harbaugh is playing for his job, or not playing, but coaching for his job. I think Lamar is playing for his next contract, which is dangerous because he's had he hasn't been super great the last couple of weeks, right? He's made some plays, but hasn't been as dynamic as he was the first 2 weeks. So Cleveland, always a huge divisional game, big rivalry there for obvious reasons. I just don't think that Cleveland is good. I think Jacoby Brissett is hitting a wall. Nick Chubb is fantastic, but I just don't think you can run a running back that much. Ravens traditionally play pretty well against the Browns, so I'm going to take the Ravens in this game. You guys have any special thoughts about this game?
No, boring one.
I would just say if you're coaching for your job, that little elf coming to town is exactly what you want.
That little elf is so creepy. I don't know. I can't believe they made it their whole ass field.
The thing that was weird to me is that like I read like a little blurb on him, and then it was like, oh yeah, he's supposed to be like a fairy that like cleans your house. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah,
why would you like? I'm like, that's the backstory for this thing. Like, what the hell is? Oh well, I mean, look, we all like to get our house cleaned for free, and that'd be great if you want to stop by Keebler. But I don't get this. I don't really get it.
What is his name? Like the actual name of the elf? He has a name, I remember, but whatever. Who cares? All right. Anyway, we got Tampa Bay at Carolina. Carolina, obviously, their first game without Matt Rule was last week. So they're not looking great, right? Traded Robbie Anderson. I believe Baker's out. Sam Darnold, I believe, is still out. So PJ Walker time. I think obviously McCaffrey is playing for his next team, right? He's trying to show up for his next team. DJ Moore, the same thing. But the Bucks coming off an embarrassing loss to the Steelers. I don't see any way that they lose to the Panthers. The Panthers are absolute dog shit. But for just shits and giggles, I would love to see that being a close game and for Brady just to freak the hell out again. That's always fun. So, I don't think you guys would have any thoughts on this game, but if you do, please stop me.
The elf's name is Brownie.
Brownie the elf, because why wouldn't it be, right?
So it's also just like, yeah, it's a clever name as well. So they got that going for them.
I love that we care so much about this Bucks-Panthers game that we decided to just Google Brownie the elf. That tells you everything you need to know about this game. Well, if that game wasn't appetizing for you, let me tell you, the Falcons are going to be in Cincinnati. And I've never been more excited to talk about this game in my entire life. The one thing I will say, I thought the Falcons would be absolute dog shit this year, and they're 3-3. So they have the same record as my team. I don't know how they're 3-3. I guess it's just that flying Hawaiian Marcus Mariota, just his magic out there. They're doing this all without Cordell Patterson as well. Their defense has actually been super, super good this year. So that's actually a fun storyline. And then Cincy, they've been kind of struggling this year, right? Protecting Burrow, which that's seemingly getting a little bit better, but then their defense hasn't been great. I would love to see an upset here. And I don't think it's wildly crazy to think that it could be an upset because Cincinnati isn't great at running the ball. And if you can make them one-dimensional, I think the Falcons have the secondary to make life a little tough for Joey Burrow. You boys have any thoughts?
The Falcons continue to be disrespected. I mean, they're getting plus 6.5. And what they have been is a spread covering machine. Yeah. And they have been respectful. And I'll say like this, honestly, like I'm not saying I'm excited for Falcons Bengals, but at least this is like two teams that are like competitive. Like these feel like two teams that are still fighting. Like obviously the Bengals are kind of fighting to maintain their reputation from last year. And like, yeah, can they get this thing going? Because they obviously have some talented pieces enough so where they made it to a Super Bowl last year. And the Falcons and Mariota are like, they're fighting, man. So at least this is the game that I feel like is
watchable.
It's interesting. Like it's at least somewhat of interest compared to some of the other things we talked about. So, and I do think if you want to keep riding the Falcons just are a cover machine, you could argue they're a great team.
I love it, dude. Good point. Let's move on to the next game, right? So Detroit's at Dallas. I believe Dak said that this was the game he was going to come back for. So that'll be an interesting dynamic, right? Like going from Cooper Rush. I just feel like anytime you have a star quarterback, obviously they demand their own style and things have to change. And the Cowboys have actually been like a pretty damn good team this year. They're 4-2. And I think it's because they've made things simplistic and they haven't overcomplicated their offense. And they're just letting Cooper Rush make the easy throws. And they have a pretty damn good running back room with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. We'll see if that changes this week, right? Detroit is who we thought they were. They are not a good team. They have the worst defense in the league. Jared Goff is kind of falling back down to earth, which we all knew that would happen. So
I don't know. I heard a lot of Detroit optimism on this podcast, not coming from this direction, by the way.
No, that was all me, for sure.
Knocks. Yeah. I was like, Ben, and sorry
It
if I'm
gets
throwing
me
you into
every
that.
year. No, it gets me every year, dude. Whatever team I watch on Hard Knocks, I'm like, they're gonna fucking win everything. So,
I mean,
And you know
they
what?
do look
This-
cool. You know, he's got a jaw in, he's slamming Starbucks. I mean, the guy looks awesome, and we all wanted it to happen. But damn it, Detroit, why?
Dude, this year was so tough not to be a bandwagon Detroit fan because of that, dude. He is the coolest coach in the league. Dan Campbell's the man, drinking just Trinta lattes like 4 times a day. And yeah, I think I texted Henny like 4 separate times, just like, dude, Dan Campbell's so damn cool how he has a lipper in right now. But yeah, dude, the team's just not good. So
Easily some of the hardest texts I sent this year were to my like future father-in-law, right? Someday, Lions are 1-1, and he's messaging me like, hey, you know, I'm streaming now. I switched from cable. Like, how can I find I don't know what happened, but I got the Lions bug again. And so now I got to try to figure out how to get these games. And like, I'm just like, dude, please don't. Like, please.
don't do it to yourself.
Like, don't do this to yourself, man.
Watch
like,
the Red Wings.
I didn't have the heart, you know, I'm like trying to help him out, but I'm like, you know, I'm trying to tell him, I'm like, Chelsea, like, don't let him do this, man. Like, it's not, I got a couple guys in the podcast who are a bit down bad. Don't do it.
I don't need my father-in-law too.
You know, yeah, and he's a Detroit guy, so like I know he's got to, and like he can't help himself, but you know, he's done a pretty good job of separating himself from the Lions so that he can live a healthy life. And sure enough, they pulled him back in.
Ben, how are the Red Wings going to do this year?
dog shit.
All right, Detroit, you have a lot to look forward to.
Like the one thing they had is completely fallen apart. The Red Wings have been brutal. I was trying to take on Detroit as like my second team in my house, you know, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just get the Red Wings. That'd be a pretty sneaky deal. No, nothing.
So if I
Great
may,
uniforms, though.
they're phenomenal uniforms. If I may, one of the biggest reasons for the downfall of Detroit is actually that their director of European player scouting retired,
Yeah.
and that team was built on European players, and they have not been the same since. So they're just going to be bottom of the barrel. It'll be fine.
That's actually some pretty hard factor analysis there, and I appreciate having you on here for that.
Bring
Because
me
John
on.
and I would never
for
bring that
season.
to the table.
Yeah, bring
That
it
was
on.
Lions football.
Yeah, Lions football also.
Lions football brought to you by Detroit Red Wings hockey and foreign scouts.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, the Lions foreign scout, he retired too. That's why they suck. So, hey, at least they got Michigan football, right? So that's good. Let's move on. Giants at the Jaguars. Giants, man, Jesus Christ, 5-1. Saquon is all the way back. I know Ben wants to talk about that. That touchdown he had against the Ravens where he jumped literally 15 feet into the end zone, that was incredible. So Danny Dimes is doing enough to be in the game, and their defense under Wink Martindale actually looks pretty efficient. I do want to say that the game-winning fumble sack was by Kayvon Thibodeau, so that hurt my soul quite a bit because I really wanted him in the draft. So Giants, are they back, boys? Are we thinking they're all the way back?
Well-coached team, good enough to cause problems for anybody. I mean,
Brian Dable is a hell of a coach.
like, he's awesome.
Yeah. Also, like, one of the funniest tweets I've seen in a while, somebody said that Brian Dable is the greatest fat guy in New York since Biggie Smalls. I was like, that's perfect. That's what
You're
I
going to
that's what I like to
disrespect
see.
Mangino like that?
I mean, Rex Reiner was in New York as well, bro.
Rob Ryan was always, he seemed like the cool
It's like
brother. Rex Ryan's over there sucking toes and stuff.
So
Chris
gross.
Christie's just Chris Christie's looking across the bridge like, what about me?
I never thought we'd bring Chris Christie up on this podcast, so thanks, honey. Jesus Christ.
That was talking fat people.
What do you think, Ben, about Saquon? You think he is
Well,
fully back, or?
I mean, he said even in the offseason, like he didn't feel 100% back last year. He was a little bit more timid. I mean, coming off knee injuries as a running back, like not everybody's Adrian Peterson. They don't
Mm-hmm.
beat their kids and like heal from ACLs really quickly. So,
Sure. Tears
I
of a
don't know.
child are very good for healing.
It must be, dude. He's got some witch's potion or something like that. No, it's awesome to see. I mean, at the end of the day, like I want him to do so well because it's just cool to see. Like he was like the Miles Sanders potential kind of running back, and then he gets drafted by the Giants, and it's like shit. That's not going to work. So it's cool to
Did
see
you just
him.
say that he had Miles Sanders potential?
No, I didn't mean Miles Sanders. Fuck, I would say Miles Sanders is good, but
I was just making sure because I was like, I think Miles Sanders, one, came after him, and two,
Barry
like,
Sanders. Barry Sanders. My
yeah,
apologies.
there we
So
go. Okay.
he always
Penn
said he
State
modeled
brain.
his
I get it.
he always modeled his game after Barry Sanders and like the way he cuts and stuff like that. It's the league is more fun when Saquon is healthy doing the things he does. And
I
it's
agree.
cool to see.
It's more fun when New York is good too. Even though I clowned New York a few episodes ago about like the whole home run thing, like it truly is more fun when they're good. Like it just is. I did want to say a valid point made by Blasey at work was he said that Saquon getting hurt might have been like halfway decent good thing for him because it taught him how to run and be more cognizant of the fact of like not getting hurt and just like better footwork and like, not just taking on like every single tackle, like knowing when to go down. Do you think there's some merit to that, Ben?
Well, I think what always kind of made him special was that he like never went down. Like he was always, making absurd cuts, hurdling guys.
Sure. Yep.
Somebody tackled. I think about the Penn State Iowa game where Josie Jewell, who's actually a very good linebacker for the Broncos,
Yep. Yep.
like it was like the matchup of those guys all night. It's like Josie Jewell hits him. And it's like he almost puts his knee down and then just runs for another 15 yards. Like I don't necessarily agree with the idea that like he's better now because he's like just going down and like he's still fighting for the extra yards. He's still doing the great cuts. Like I think the reason he's doing well is I think he has a coach who understands that like this guy's healthy, give him the ball because he's the only thing we really got. Who else are you going to give the ball to? Like
yeah,
that's what it really comes down to. Like they tried making Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram work for so long. It's like that's not going to be how you win the game. Your best offensive weapon is Saquon. Use him.
yep.
That's why I think he's having the year he's having.
That's awesome. Good point, man. Let's move on to the next game, boys. We got the Colts at the Titans AFC South divisional game. Colts are looking much improved. No Jonathan Taylor still. I think he's questionable, so he might not play. Derrick Henry is obviously playing. Both teams are 3-2, 3-2-1. I think both of them are. Did they both tie? I don't know, but AFC South has been pretty bad, right? So this is a game I'm for sure not going to watch. I hate the Titans anyway. I just think they're a boring ass team, and I don't know. Like this game just does not reach my soul whatsoever. So I mean, do you guys have any thoughts on this game?
If the game isn't reaching your hole, I don't want to, So
yeah, that's how I feel too, brother. All right, let's just move on. Green Bay at Washington. We already talked about Green Bay, obviously not doing great. Washington is just so bad as well, though. They're 2-4. They did win last week. Wentz is out, though. We got Tyler Heineke out there. He's at least a little bit of fun to watch. He'll sling the rock. He'll make some questionable decisions, but that's fun football. If you're a Terry McLaurin fantasy owner, that might be a good thing for you because he's been invisible pretty much all year. I think the Packers will probably definitely pull this game out, but they are playing in Washington, so Aaron Rodgers should watch his ACL. I am so sorry if something does happen to him this weekend. That whole stadium is just a cemetery. So, Ben, you got anything to say about that one?
Dude, Taylor Heineke is a cover machine.
You know what college you went to, right?
I actually don't.
Old Dominion, Ben.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, but the tape was lost, so I forgot. Damn it. Well,
I failed trivia again too, Ben. I had no idea again.
I'm
he's
just
going to
saying it
ask
all
me the
comes full
same.
circle.
Yeah, the parade pick of the week: Taylor Heineke, Old Dominion against the fucking garbage ass teams of the NFL.
Whether
Should
the
we-
audio has been lost or not, we have been fading the Packers heavily, and if you've been following that, you have been winning.
True. Should we do another podcast parlay where you take Old Dominion money line and Washington
No, not yet. Not
Washington
yet.
Commanders money line?
We have to see if they beat Georgia Southern or they cover against Georgia Southern. Then there might be a parade pick of the week.
Oh, dude, come on, have some balls, Ben. We're talking about a podcast parlay. We're talking about the Old Dominion special, bro.
I'm not going to fade myself. I already have money down on Georgia Southern.
What's the Old Dominion mascot? The Monarchs?
Himself and go against his notes app in one fell swoop of desperation just because you called him out hour and 30 in.
Maybe this is just a me and Henny thing. What are they? The Monarchs, Henny?
They are.
Yeah,
rain on.
So what can we go with? The Monarch money line parlay of the week? Is that what we're going to go with?
To be fair, that's
Sounds
not
risky.
as juicy as you think because Old Dominion is the favorite.
Well, you got to think Washington's probably the underdog quite a bit.
Yeah,
Packers
but you
game,
end
right?
up catching even money just to bet Taylor Heineke. That seems weird.
Yeah, so I think that's what we're going to go with, though, boys. The Monarch money line pick of the week. I like it. That's our new. We haven't done a podcast parlay in a while because we got smoked during week one.
Dugan says, "I as we fuck your couch. This is the money line parlay of the week."
It's the most fun one, bro. If you can think of one that's more fun, I'm down. But we're betting on Tyler Heineke right now, and I'm all for it. Okay, and Old Dominion.
I think it's Taylor, bro. Calm down.
Yeah,
put some
God, sorry.
Put some respect on Taylor's name.
We're an hour and a half in, bro. I haven't been great on namesake. I said Jody Freshwater. Now I'm doing Tyler Heineke. Listen here, bro.
I said Miles Sanders. I mean, fuck.
I know him and Barry Sanders get mixed up all the time, so not a big deal.
I guess Henny's just the only perfect one on this podcast, Ben. So
it's because he doesn't talk as much as us.
At least he doesn't have a lisp this week.
I was gonna say, I'm like, it's coming.
All right, boys. Cool. Well, if you choose to do that parlay, good on you. If not, you're just siding with Henny and you're a piece of garbage anyway. So,
or you took my Georgia Southern pick. Just saying. Whatever.
True. All right, we're gonna stay with New York.
Same foxhole here, dude. Nothing like being, in a foxhole and I see you guys charging across the field at me like we were supposed to be on the same side.
That's true. Anyway, let's go. We got the Jets at the Broncos. I sent Henny over a quote today from Russell Wilson where they were like, Russell Wilson, I guess, isn't hurt anymore. And they asked Russell Wilson, I don't even know if this was a real quote, Henny. Maybe you investigated a little bit more and maybe it was not real.
I didn't. I'm just accept it all as it's all in the good book now, buddy. I don't know.
It sounded very much like a Russell Wilson quote anyway, like something that he for sure said. And they said, "Are you surprised that you're already good to go?" And he said, "No, I got Wolverine blood," or something along those lines. And I was just like, this is the most Russell Wilson thing ever. And I hate it so freaking much. We have a friend that is a huge Seahawks fan, and we always send him all our Russell Wilson hate stuff. And he low-key got offended, huh, Henny? Like he was defending him a little bit. And he was a little offended that we kept kind of prodding the bear on that one.
Little in the feels. So Seahawks fans, it's hang in there, 12, but you're Geno country now. So that's way more fun anyways. This guy's left your organization. He said, screw you guys. I want out. Yep. Flip the bird to you guys and left. And then you're still it's sickening. It's sickening.
Yep. And this week he plays the Jets, who have Sauce Gardner, who is just demolishing everybody's wide receiver one. And Zach Wilson is playing great. So Breece Hall, by the way, good Lord, what a running back. I love the Jets in this game. And I swear I think if the Jets pull it off, that might be the end of Nathaniel Hackett. 2-5 at that point.
It's too
Bring me
early.
the chaos.
It's
Is
too
it
early,
though?
but
They invested a lot of money in this team, bro. If they're already 2-5, that's not good.
the Walton family has always been a little ruthless, just destroying small businesses. Why not destroy a family?
That's right.
That's right. I was like, they have no problem crushing the little guy.
Yep.
We know.
Big Chaucer fans, So, all right, perfect. Let's move on. We got Houston at Vegas. Both these teams have been just absolute dog shit this year. Vegas is completely a surprise that they're so dog shit since they have so many weapons, a new coaching hire. But you know what? I'm here for it. I don't love Vegas. I know Henny doesn't. Henny loves the city of Vegas, but he's not a big Raiders guy. I'm pulling for Houston this game. Dameon Pierce has been really good. And then Davis Mills, that neck, how could you not love him? So what do you boys think?
I don't feel strongly about anything other than I made a great choice with Dameon Pierce in my fantasy draft.
Oh, he's been great.
Raiders are good bad.
Yeah.
So
they're in every game.
Raiders are good bad. They're going to be around and I don't know, they're giving away 7, which feels like a lot, but they can also score a lot of points. I feel like they're going to kind of get this thing kickstarted and get competitive. So I kind of like the Raiders in this one a little bit, but I kind of just like what Ben said, and I'm glad you picked on Breece Hall. The NFL is also better when you have good backs, man. You're talking about Saquon. I'm I miss really good dominant running backs, and King Henry's been fun and interesting, and he's definitely been unique in his own way. But I miss the LTs, the Barry Sanders, some of those guys that are just super dynamic. So I'm just glad to see some of these guys. I don't know. That's really not saying anything about the Raiders or the Texans, but an interesting point nonetheless.
You kind of are, though, because Dameon Pierce has been super, super good. So, no, you're right. I think we are kind of backtracking a little bit, right? Running backs have been good this year. So, cool. Next game is John's game, Seattle at the Chargers. Gino's coming to town. John, are you scared?
No, but yes, because our offensive line is absolutely massacred. I have no idea. Honestly, we're duct taping this thing together. The fact that we're 4-2 is something. I mean, it tells you that Herbert's good. I mean, I think what I said to my friends going into the season was you're going to see Herbert start to find ways to win games. He's doing it by just simply not turning the ball over. We look like in a completely check down offense. If Keenan Allen's back, that might start to change a little bit because then maybe you can free some of the other guys to go downfield and put a target on, put that double coverage on Keenan, and he becomes the guy that kills you on third down. So please, Keenan, just come back to us. I feel good generally speaking because I don't think the Seahawks are incredibly scary, but anytime you're putting, let's say if you're going to put your money on the Chargers, that's a risky wager.
Yeah, for sure. Talk to me about J.C. Jackson, though, real quick. J.C. Jackson, absolute flop so far. What do you think's going on?
Got benched last week. Don't ever sign a Patriots cornerback. Don't do it. Sure. I mean, I wasn't adamant about this by any means when the season started. I'm yeah, cool. We signed somebody. It's nice to see the Chargers actually spend money in free agency. But this is why I was really high on Khalil Mack and didn't spend a lot of time talking about J.C. Jackson. I thought we had a pretty decent secondary as it was. Thankfully, the depth has stepped up in J.C. Jackson's place. But that is that signing looks really bad right now. In crunch time, they absolutely took him out of that Denver game, and it was the reason we got better on defense. And there's really not even any conversation about it. That is plain and simple what happened. So Chargers are just they're winning, but it's a mess.
You know who you guys miss is Desmond King. That's who you miss. What a cornerback that was.
But also, he's from Iowa, so do we?
Valid point. Okay, I see where you're going with this. All right, well, let's move on. Kansas City at San Francisco. This should be a fun game, right? San Francisco's defense is usually pretty good. Jimmy G's been Jimmy G-ing it up. Pretty middle of the road. Kansas City, definitely looking like one of the best teams in the league. It is in San Fran, tough place to play. That should be a really fun game, boys. Does anybody want to take the Niners on that game, or are we all riding the Chiefs?
I retired.
It's true. And
Yeah, it's tempting. Niners defense is pretty elite. I'll just say that. So they
Yeah.
will give them a test, and then it's really probably just about whether Jimmy G and probably more emphasis on Shanahan can scheme up the boys to get him in the end zone a few times. Because if they do that, I think you actually get a close game there, and you get a couple points at home with the Niners, and that's never a bad thing to get points at home or just take a money line dog.
It's a replay of the Super Bowl from a couple of years ago, isn't it?
Sure is.
Yeah, that's a Super Bowl I forget about, to be honest with you. So I don't really recall a whole lot about that Super Bowl other than that the Chiefs were really good. So Ben, I know you said you were tired, but we do have your game this week. We have the Steelers at the Dolphins. I don't think Tua's going to be playing. I don't know if Kenny Pickett will be playing because he's in the same position as Tua with a concussion.
I think they said that Tua cleared, actually. I know he's still marked as questionable, but supposedly he is. I think he's okay. No matter what, I think they lose the game. I think the Steelers fall back down to reality. Like I said, 2-6 going into the bye. And, we won't fire Matt Canada because why would we change anything? We're the Steelers. We've had 3 coaches in 70 years. Like, it's stupid. I fucking hate this team.
Oh, that was the reaction I was hoping we get. How about you, John?
No, I really can't beat that. I mean, if Ben fucking hates him, I fucking hate him.
That's right. Fuck the Steelers. I'm glad we're all in the same, pick there. Cool. Let's move on to our last game of the week. We got just an absolute barn burner. We have the Bears against the Patriots. Bailey Zappi has been electric. Western Kentucky Hilltoppers finest. Justin Fields looks like hot garbage, but who can blame him? His offensive line and receivers are absolutely terrible. We're taking Patriots big on this one, right, boys? Like, they beat the brakes off the Browns the week before. The Bears stand no chance, right?
Ramondre Stevenson's going to have 200 rushing yards, dude.
I picked him up in fantasy this week. I couldn't believe he was available.
I drafted him, so look at me.
Yeah, can't envision the Bears offense looking better against a Bill Belichick coach team when they're already pretty much one-dimensional offense. I will say that I will hang on to my Justin Fields stock. I don't think he looks terrible. I think he looks like a guy who just desperately needs help.
Yes.
But he might just be another casualty of the Bears. So for that reason, stock is dwindling.
Yeah. I just hope we get another Steve Belichick moment where he's sitting there licking his lips, because that's an all-time meme that we need more of, to be honest with you. So perfect, boys. Well, that is the slate for the NFL this week. Let's hope that the NFL gets a little bit more exciting, like we talked about previously, right? Like, college football has been king so far. I miss the fun NFL, the good NFL. Let's hope that we get some of that this weekend and moving forward. Huge slate for college football. Follow Ben's picks. Try to go 7 for 7, just like he did last week. Don't mention the Penn State game. That didn't actually happen. That was in a different timeline. Other than that, guys, hey, audience, please like, subscribe, share this podcast, comment, whatever you want to do, right? Helps us out a lot. We'd love to know what our audience is thinking about our content. Hopefully that this episode actually gets published. Who knows? We don't know yet. Knocking on wood, so let's hope. Other than that, thank you so much for listening. Please check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're all there. Boys, you have any parting words for the audience?
Prayers for our audio and free KD.
Ben?
It's hockey season.
And fuck the Steelers. All right, we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.